to another Big Innings. I'm Patel, and I'm joined by Nate Hayes. We're America's Cricket Show, and we're without Dane Pete today. He's with the Washington Freedom as they are preparing for Major League Cricket, with just 8 days away. But before we jump into our busy evening of topics, we want to shout out our good buddies at Soulmate. They make AstroTurf cricket shoes, and they are phenomenal. I got a pair right here. They sent us 2 of them, and they look great, and they feel fantastic. The soles of these were great. I wore them for about an hour, and it was really good. They also added about an inch to my height, so I'll take that, Nate.
Yeah, so you are pretty tall. You're probably still growing on it, but
we'll take it.
They're comfortable shoes, and at this point in the season, it's early July. Anybody who's been playing on the East Coast has experienced an awful lot of wet weather, and you're going to want to have another pair of shoes. So give these a look. We can vouch for the quality. They just sent them to us to try out, and we like them.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Soulmate, SOLM8. You can go to their website, and they'll be able to ship to you whenever you want. We also have another exciting promo to share with you. Major League Cricket, we said 8 days away. Well, if you're still looking for tickets at Church Street Park, we got a discount code for you. You can go and at checkout, go to ChurchST10 for 10% off. Again, the world best cricketers, they're coming to Morrisville. We only have just 8 days left, Nate. These tickets, they're going to come and go fast. This is your way to get 10% off.
And we'll see you there for sure. We'll definitely be there. That's actually where we're filming this, from Morrisville, North Carolina, which is where Church Street Park is. So anybody watching from North Carolina, will be happy to hang out with you and talk to you. If you're new to cricket, we'll be happy to tell you about cricket, of course. We do that all the time. But yeah, use that code, Church Street 10, Church ST10, to get 10% off at Church Street games. Thanks to Z for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys at Major League Cricket for making that beautiful banner for us. And before we get our iron, as we're walking out into the middle, Dane Peters put a message in the chat for us and says, "Don't mess up without me." So we're going to try to get our eye in without getting bowled first ball. But to start things off, Peter De La Pena, he was part of a large layoff at ESPN. So start of us on a somber note here on Big Innings. Peter De La Pena, someone we've worked with closely. Sad news to hear about him.
Yeah, really sad news, man. It's he's an archive of American and associate cricket knowledge. He's basically the archive for American cricket. He knows everything that's happened over the last, well, probably forever. More than anybody else does. He is a knowledge base. And he's going to land on his feet. He does too many things to not land on his feet. They call him the octopus. A lot of people in emerging cricket called him the octopus when they've been at tournaments with him, because of how well he does everything. And he does everything. He's always in the taking pictures, making notations in the margins while he's keeping score, and contextualizing things for people.
Man, the notes that he takes are incredible.
They're amazing.
When I was commentating with him, and every ball he's got it down, and you look at the score, he can tell you exactly what happened.
Yeah,
he's right. It's phenomenal what he's able to bring to the game.
And he does commentary. He does commentary both for ESPN Cricket Info when you see the ball by ball, especially anytime you see a reference to an American sport. That was him. He also we've done commentary with him live at games. Audio commentary for the live streams and stuff like that, and he's very good at that. He's a very knowledgeable person. He can do so many things. He's gonna land on his feet. Someone's gonna pick him up. It's just it's sad. It's really sad to see someone who does so much and is such good value get released in this massive layoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, wishing all the best to Peter De La Pena, but we know he's going to be just fine. Moving to our next little mini topic here. Our very own Emily Reynolds was on John Boy's morning meetings. Nate, talk to us about this.
Yeah, this is a show that he does, and he likes to talk about, John Boy's great at talking about behind the scenes stuff, what his company's trying to do. He tunes everyone into this, and so this is one of those such episodes, and it's great to see Emily getting some exposure, getting the FaceTime, talking about Major League. She deserves it. She works her butt off. So that was great. Seeing 2 of my favorite people when it comes to cricket, when it comes to sports, talking about Major League Cricket is very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you catch up on that, you can also catch up on the Ball and Play League that is still going on, and you can see one of our favorite people, Nate Hayes, in this very delightful pink shirt of his.
Yes, that was me. I'm the umpire. We got 6 major leaguers, 1 on each of the teams in the Ball and Play League. So check it out. It's great. It's good immersive stuff. It's great, fun and entertaining sport at the John Boy Warehouse. And to help bring eyes from John Boy onto the Major League and explain to people the flow of cricket in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have to talk about the USA Under-19 Nationals, and our very own Nate Hayes is once again proving that he's a little bit of an octopus himself. He's writing an article about that'll be on Emerging Cricket at some point in the near future. But we had an exciting bit of cricket play for all these youngsters, and amongst a bunch, a guy like Rishi Ramesh stood out, and there's plenty of others. Nate.
Yeah. You called me an octopus. I'd like to say I'm a severely limited octopus, probably 6 arms short. But Arya Garg, Rishi Ramesh, Otkar Shrivastava.
There you go. Utkar Shrivastava. Again, it's a learning. We're all learning here, right? There you go.
You're right. Shrivastava. For me, were the top players. Obviously, Rishi Ramesh as the best batter, Garg as the best bowler, and I think Utkar as the top all-rounder in the event. It was great to see. It was a short event this time, so you had a rotation policy, and because of that, obviously the players who play 4 games get an advantage. But yeah, I've got my playing 11 or my team of the tournament publishing soon from emergingcricket.com, so check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And our last bit of news to get our eye in. We have some more Major League news because the domestic wild cards were announced this morning, and some interesting picks being allotted along. And I think one of the biggest ones we'll talk about, I think we'll start with TSK and Mohammad Mohsin. I think that was probably our biggest one. We talk about extra spinners. There you go. There's another one that they added. But we go down the list. The LA Knight Riders pick up Gurjinant Singh. The San Francisco Unicorns, they get Emilio Ponzo, another left-arm orthodox. And the Jesse Singh, he's going to go to MI New York. You would have to imagine getting an extra pace bowler in there. Washington picking up Usman Rafiq, and Seattle going with Nisarg Patel.
Right. Yeah, every one of these players is excellent. They've appeared a lot for USA Cricket or not. The 2 of them haven't, Mohammad Mohsin and Emilio Ponzo. We were both stunned to see both of them excluded in the draft. But when you look at the overseas broad, it made sense. A lot of spinners turning the ball away from the righty were brought in by teams overseas, and we have a lot of those bowlers type style here. Obviously, Mohammad Mohsin, I think it's an excellent pick for Texas. We talked about a little bit about how they needed another spinner in the team, and obviously they needed another overseas, but they had. We talked about Zia Shirzad was going to have to play. Yeah. So you don't want to, as good as Zia is, you always want a plan B. Yeah. Especially for a serious role like a leg spinner. You always want a plan B, and Mohammad Mohsin gives them that plan B. It's almost like a 1A really. Yeah. For leg spinning all-rounders, and we both know he can rake.
He can rake. Obus, we got you. We know that's your favorite word.
Yeah. He can rake with the bat, which means, with cricket folks, that means he can hit. That's a baseball term, meaning he can really hit the ball all over the place and just spray it all around the ground. So yeah, that looks great. As you said, Jesse Singh in. We have the issue potentially with Kyle Phillip. Now we're both hoping he gets the training and a lot of attention from that MI New York team. A lot of investment into him getting his action better, so that it passes ICC standards. Yeah. And it'll help him as a player.
No,
so
absolutely.
This is a good timing for it, really. Sure. It's a disaster in some ways, but it's good timing. He'll have attention that he probably wouldn't have been able to get otherwise.
No, absolutely. And yeah, so those are our domestic wild cards, and again, we'll now more ways to predict an 11. You got more dominoes to add to that puzzle. But there we go. That's our eye-in. And so now that we got our eye-in, feel free to leave comments, things that you want us to hear, just thoughts of your own. So as we go through this, just feel free to leave comments in the comments section. But we're going to start off with probably the hottest topic of world cricket in the past couple of days, the Ashes. And obviously, no one's talking about the Bairstow run. I don't think anyone's ever mentioned the Bairstow stumping. No, that's where we'll start. Australia, they're 2 up, and again, all the commotion is about this stumping that occurred to Johnny Bairstow, and the spirit of the game. It's within the laws, but is it too far? And again, it's within the laws of the game. Bairstow, he tried to do it to the Aussie batters as well. He walked out of his crease a couple times in the couple balls beforehand.
Right.
Again, there's a lot to go into play here. Nate, what are your thoughts?
Well, here's my thoughts. Okay, so it kind of the fact. Let's get to the bottom. Let's get to the biggest point.
Sure.
England's down 0-2.
Yep.
This test to me highlighted how important the first test was, where they really had a chance to win that game. Going into that third session, it looked like they would win the game, or that they had a 60% chance or a 55%. They were in the game the whole time.
Absolutely.
It went down to the final session of the 5th day. You can't ask for more than that. And they made a couple of mistakes along the way where they really didn't necessarily deserve to win because of the mistakes they made. Now, some of the mistakes that were made were that Bairstow dropped 3 catches. As a wicketkeeper, that's a big no-no, dropping 3 catches in a test. So Bairstow, to me, those 3 drops contribute, obviously, to everyone. They contributed heavily to the loss there. We didn't talk a lot about that.
Sure.
We talked about other things. Does baseball work was the topic at the time. And then, of course, with that topic, does baseball work, they went straight into Lord's, which is not the place you want to talk about whether baseball works or not, because the clientele there, the fan base at Lord's, very traditional fan base. So you've got early on, they had a little grumbling from that fan base about, well, baseball's not, it's dead or whatever. So, but let's look back before these tests. I think they won 12 of their last 14 tests before the Ashes.
Yep.
So they're not a bad team. And everybody points out they're just a mediocre team right now. Well, I don't think they are. They found a style that worked for them.
And they're playing the number 1 test team in the world.
Playing the number 1 test team in the world.
And
right.
I think all those players are at the height of their powers. It really feels like. So
early on, a lot of this talk is about about the style of play that they play and how it doesn't really work with the particular fan base. And maybe the first test, it was they were playing at a place that was going to embrace them no matter what style they played. Now you have you're playing at Lord's, which is the quote unquote home of cricket, and it's so traditional there that they won't even allow horns. They won't even allow the Barmy Army to come in and blow horns. But apparently, you can't blow horns at Lord's, but you can go into the long room and yell at the other team. And that's...
I know that was Nate's favorite talking point. He was ready to say it. He texted me that. He was ready for it.
Oh, my gosh. It's pathetic. And then just swallow the loss, guys. Like, to me, I get why Baz, why the coach of the team, I get why the leadership of the team wants to double down on this unifying thing. You're at home, first of all. You've got the entirety of England behind you. If you complain, they'll complain. So go ahead and complain about this. It was a stumping. It wasn't even a run. It was a stumping where Bairstow left early. The keeper gloves the ball and then immediately rolls it to the stumps.
Yep.
It wasn't a hesitation. So this was a legitimate play. It was a legitimate cricket play. The English once again look like whiners. I get why Baz wants to focus on this to help galvanize the team.
Sure.
Because you need every ounce of your emotions going into this. And then you see Stokes afterwards saying, "Oh, this is not a way I would want to win." Well, regardless of whether it was a good thing or not, whether it was the right thing to do or not, it's within the rules.
Yep.
And Australia's going to beat you that way. So if you don't want to win that way, you don't want to do it yourself, that's one thing. Don't let them do it to you.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think there's a lot of folks saying, well, is it within the spirit of the game? And I think there's a fine line, right? I think spirit of the game, I think there's a moment, with Andrew Leonard on call of that Asif Sheikh not taking off the run out, right? Where the bowler and the batter, they run into each other, they collide.
And
so he says, you know what?
I'm
not going to run you out because you didn't get a fair opportunity to get to your crease. So I'm just not. But this is
above and beyond, by the way. Most people would
have just taken it, right? But I think this is something entirely different. I think this is you walked out of your crease 3 consecutive times. They noticed the pattern, and they said, you know what? We're just going to try it. If you talk about I see clips all the time where spinner's bowling, and it comes off a pad or it comes off an inside edge. They don't know where the ball is. They take a step forward. Keeper picks it up, knocks off the stumps, right?
Sure.
They didn't know what was happening, but Johnny Bairstow walked forward. No one else had moved, and they took the bails off. That's just it's what it is, right? And at the end of the day, whether you think it's within the spirit of the game, whether you think this shouldn't be within the laws of the game, this was not the reason England lost a test match. This was not the difference. There are 5 days, and Australia owned every day. If you want to talk about day 4, talk about the fact that Australia probably should have been down on day 4. They lose Nathan Lyon. They're not going to have a spinner. They're really leaning on Travis Head, Marnus, Steve Smith to be their primary spinners. It's great day to bat. And after the first session, what are England? They're 4 down with just, 60 runs on the board. That was the issue to me. It wasn't that this whole stumping caused the collapse of the English batting order. No, it was you lost 4 wickets in a session that you should have dominated and that should have allowed you to get back in the test match.
And some people pointed out if it hadn't been for the stumping, would we have seen Stokes play the way that he played? And we were treated to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's I don't want to come down too hard on England. We love watching England. I love watching. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Johnny Bairstow. I mean, I got to support every ginger cricketer.
I knew that was I was waiting for. I was going to comment to know if you didn't.
I have to, but if you're going to say that this was what caused you the second test, then you have to look at it and say, okay, well, it was within the laws. If it cost you the test, then you're talking about Bairstow dropping 3 catches in the first test, getting out this way in the second test. Bairstow has now cost you 2 games if that's the case. I don't think it's the case.
Right.
But we see Ollie Pope out now, Wokes and Wood in, Jimmy out, Jimmy Anderson out, which I think is appropriate. But now they're heading back to Headingley. They got the Barmy Army back with the horns. I think this is a good thing for England. And I think they are using this event to try to galvanize the team, right or wrong. It's been so painful to me and so annoying reading the press from the English, waxing poetic about the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I've seen some beautiful writing about this dumb event.
Yeah, it's crazy the coverage and the type of media attention it's got and warranted. And look, we spent our first 20 minutes talking about that on the show. So it's been that kind of a topic. Just to mention some of the comments here, PJ, he's in the comments section like always.
Oh yeah.
Listen, we did not kick Dane off the show. Dane is still a part of the show. He chose to upgrade his lifestyle. He didn't want to be slubbing with us this week. He said, you know what, I'll head with the Washington Freedom. So don't worry, we'll get Dane back. I'm not sure what the tattoo is, all right? That was there when I met Nate. That was not a post-Umman tattoo for Nate. That was a pre-Umman tattoo. So he can answer that whenever he wants to. But moving to our next topic here, and this will actually help with Akshay, you talking about some hot takes we have for this inaugural season. Well, we're going to talk about 2 teams and predict their 11s. We've been predicting 11s here on the show. So we'll start off with the Washington Freedom. We'll start with their squad. Nate, break down. Our very own Dane Pete plays for this squad. Break down what you like.
Yeah, so we, We've got a really good team here. I think there's a lot of balance on this team. We talked before about how you want to have a plan B for everything. They look like they have a plan B for everything. They've got almost everything you could want to have in a T20 team. Really good balance. I think there are some teams that are stacked a little better in terms of just bashing the ball, and there's some teams that are stacked a little better in this way or that way. But as far as having a little bit of everything on this team, Washington has that. So we got Andres House. I'm going to talk about the domestics first of all. Andres House, he's a wicket keeper. He's from South Africa. He's been here over 2 years in the USA. He's considered by many to be the best batter in domestically in the USA. I think that's a very fair thing. At the very least, he's one of the top 3.
Yep.
But most people consider Andres the very best batter in the U.S. Now, one of the things that he does extremely well is when you watch him play, you can see how his batting style can translate to pretty much any format.
Sure.
He plays very safe shots, but he's so accurate with his placement of the ball that he scores anyways. And good luck getting him out in the power play where he eases his way in and finds gaps and scores boundaries in beautiful cricket shots.
Yes.
And then we got Mukhtar Ahmed. We saw a little bit of him in the
Champions Open. Yeah.
The Champions Open. Thank you. And he's kind of new to the scene in the USA. He committed to playing here and retiring from his home nation. Mukhtar Ahmed, and he's a very good. Look at his statistics. Watch him play. He was taken second by the Washington in the draft, and he's very good. Obas Pinar. Our buddy here in Morrisville, he's a number 3, 4, 5 batter, excellent batter in minor league, left arm orthodox spinner. Sorab, USA former captain, left arm fast bowler, super good. Well, he's more like a medium fast bowler, very good, very efficient. I'm taking a while, so I'm going to speed through these guys a little bit. Saad Ali, left-handed batter from Pakistan, who played for the Chicago Tigers last year, helped them get to the playoffs.
Was a big part of that.
Big part of that. He tends to bat at the top of the order, tends to open, at least in the USA, but he has batted all over the place in his career. Dane Pete. Our Dane.
Dane, hashtag bring Dane back. PJ brought it up here.
Yeah, put it up there. Yeah. So Dane's our buddy in one of the co-hosts of our show.
Yep.
One of the star of our show.
He is the star. He is the star. We're just we're supporting. We're in the outskirts of it.
Yeah. Anyways, he's a former Test spinner for South Africa, right arm off spinner, and he can bash with the bat. We saw him win 2 games for the Raptors last year.
Very smart with how he plays the bat. When you talk to him, he just understands the game at a high level.
He's got a great brain for this, and he's a good mentor for youth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sujith Gowda, oh man, Sujith has been one of the top performers in Major League Cricket, in minor league cricket the last 2 seasons. Yep. He's put up a ton of runs, a very reliable batter, top order batter. And he can bat just about any place too. But he's one of my favorites in the league. I love him. Justin Dill, another one of my favorites. All-rounder, bowling all-rounder, plays in St. Louis, is the captain of the St. Louis minor league team. But he's also from South Africa. I believe he won the World Cup the U19 World Cup with South Africa. Wow. So he's got a lot of experience. And then Akhilesh Badagam, our buddy, the U23 for this team. We got to see him in Atlanta 2 years ago. Yep. Then in Seattle, I went to Seattle and won the league along with Andres House in minor league cricket. A young, bright star. I think he's a phenomenal bowler. Tall, skinny. I think putting him on this team with the spinners that they have both domestically and overseas is a great move. And, I'm focusing more on the domestics here because I think that's more of the value we bring to people. We know more. We know a lot about them. And the overseas, they're already well known.
They speak for themselves. But, not only is Nate breaking down this squad, he also predicted an 11. PJ jumped the gun here. He put his 11 in there. So, PJ, compare your 11 to Nate's coming up here. Nate, break down why you went with this.
PJ's got his 11. Now, PJ, I made this graphic beforehand, so I'm not trying to rip anything off of you if you see any similarities here. But, yeah, here's my Washington 11. I got Andres leading off, opening with the bat, right-handed. And I got – there's 3 wicket keepers on this team, really. I don't think Glenn Phillips is going to keep wicket. I think it's going to be either Philippi or Andres House. Sure. And either way. But both of them are opening, and they're both right-handed. I got Saad Ali in at number 3, and this was a really hard decision because I basically put Mukhtar Ahmed, who was their 2nd overall pick. I basically put him on the bench just to get a lefty in there. Sure. As you look at the rest of the team, there's no lefty to speak of. This is one area I think Washington lacks is left-handed bats, and we know here in the USA, left-handed bats do a great job neutralizing certain kinds of spin and certain kind of fast bowling that we see in abundance in the USA.
Absolutely.
Then we got Glenn Phillips. We've seen videos of him bowling a lot with his right arm off break bowling, and he does bowl a decent amount in T20. He's good at it. Right-handed batter. He's number 4 in this team. To me, that is one of the spots that's just cemented.
I saw a video of him in the nets, and he was absolutely just smoking the ball.
Ridiculous.
It was unbelievable.
And his brother played here in minor league last year. So his brother played out in California for the Lashings.
There you go.
Yeah, and he was super good. Also a keeper, but he played great. And we got Obas Pinar at the number 5. Our buddy Obas, who has joined us before on the minor league draft show, and we get to commentate on him because he plays for the Raptors here. Yep. Right-handed bat, slow left arm, orthodox. Now I don't know how much he's going to bowl, but this number 5 spot for him is terrific. And he's finished a lot of games for the Raptors. He's a finisher, and he can go the distance and put up really big scores. He holds the record in minor league actually for the fastest 100. Then we've got Moises Enriquez, and Moises, man, I've got him at number 6. This is how I love this top 6 right here. Really, and Moises, I considered putting him at 3 because he can handle it.
Yeah.
But he seems to be really comfortable in this spot. He's the captain of the team, right arm fast medium bowler. And then I got Hasaranga, who was amazing in the World Cup qualifier.
He's up for the ICC Player of the Month. So
he should get it. He should get it. He's been phenomenal. We'll talk more about that later, about the qualifier later. But as far as a T20 player goes,
absolutely,
if you could pick any set of skills, you might end up being Hasaranga. If you could, hand pick all the different skills. He's amazing. We got Marco Janssen, who at number 8. This is a luxury here. Left arm fast medium. I wanted to have a left fast medium, and they have depth at this position too, because they also have Dwarshuis there. So it's going to come down to one of those two, and I think Jansen gets the edge there. But both of those guys can do well at that number 8 spot, I think. Then we've got our own Dane Pete at number 9, and right arm off break bowler who can also score at that number 9 position, gives them a little added depth, I think. And then Nordke at number 10, right arm fast bowler. He's cemented in the team from day one.
1000%.
Like
there's no moving him off. If you're bowling 150 in this league, you're playing on the team.
He's one of the guys I'm most excited to see. And then we got Saurabh Netravarkar right behind him. Saurabh, my buddy, USA former captain, and one of the top bowlers in ODI cricket. One of the top, I think, five or six bowlers, maybe top 10 bowlers in ODI cricket in the world. At number 11, I was stoked about this team's drafting.
Sure,
I think they did a great job. And unfortunately on the bench I have Mukhtar Ahmed, Sujit Gowda, Justin Dill, Akhilesh Badaga, and Osman Rafiq, which I didn't mention before. Osman Rafiq was recently taken, as we mentioned, in this free agent round. Gives them depth at the left arm orthodox bowling position. So we'll see. My playing 11 here is everyone's is gonna depend on how the wickets go.
No, absolutely right. Whether you go spin, where you go more pace. I like the 11 here. I had Mukhtar Ahmed at 3 for mine, but I completely understand having Saad Ali as your extra left-handed. And if you look at PJ's 11, he has both in there. He's sat Dane out and brought Saad Ali to bat at really the 6 role, and brought Phillips down a peg as well to bat at 7. So he's kind of flipped with the order a little bit and let the big hitters stay in a big hitting role. An interesting 11 there. I'm not sure I would have Glenn Phillips batting that low, but I think Glenn Phillips at 4. I think you're right with that, and I do think Dane becomes the option of, do we want an extra bat? Do we want the extra spin?
I think that's
where the wicket comes in, right? I think he's very understanding of that as well.
I think that with this team, if you want another bat, then you're going to sit Dane and you're going to put Mukhtar Ahmed in there.
Right.
Is what I think you're going to do, because you do have good spin options already. But I just thought having Dane in there, turning the other way from Hasaranga. Obviously, Glenn Phillips can do that too, but Dane we know can give you 4. It depends on what you want to do with your bowling.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And he also had the opening partnership to be Andres Kos and Mukhtar Ahmed. PJ did, and had Felipe sit in place for Adam Milne. And again, when you have Adam Milne on this lineup too, you just forget to mention how many great guys are on this team, and just give you a bunch of different flavors. And so
it really does.
Like you mentioned, there's a lot of depth, and I think they drafted really well. So again, if you have any Freedom 11s you want to put in the chat, feel free to do so. Feel free.
And we didn't even mention Hussein.
Yeah, Akil Hussein. He's they brought him over here, one of their last overseas signings.
Sure.
And he right now, in our 11s, doesn't seem to find a spot. So again, this team is just so loaded with
his arm ball
a lot
is
of
nasty.
Options. Yeah,
he's got a nasty arm. These wickets might be great for him too. We'll see.
We'll see. Again, it's all going to depend on day one, and we're so excited. 8 days to go till that first ball is bowled.
It's crazy.
But we'll move from the Freedom, and we'll move to the next team we'll talk about, the LA Knight Riders, and we'll talk about their squad first. And with that squad, again, a lot of big names of the overseas, a lot of names we know, the Dre Russes, the Sunil Narayans, Lockie Ferguson. But when we talk about the domestics, there are also a lot of names a lot of people recognize. Ali Khan, one of the most recognizable names on the associate circuit. Chand, probably the biggest signing, or made the biggest splash when he came over here from India. And then you still have the Saif Badars of the world. Jaskar Malhotra, of course, with the world record at batting where he did, 6 sixes, and he's the only keeper on the squad. So you just have to imagine he's going to play every single game.
Right.
Shadley Van Skalkwijk, they took him very late, but I think that's probably, for me, that was probably the steal of the draft outside of maybe Saiteja Mukamala, just because of the value you get with both bat and ball and the kind of different roles he can fill. This is a guy who would bat in tough situations for Seattle and then bowl in tough situations and thrived in those situations.
Yeah.
The big match player. You have Nitish Kumar, who we love. Is fantastic. Great wrists. Can work the ball in really any direction.
Absolutely.
And then they added Cornet Dry in the 5th round, which I thought was a fantastic pick. Again, a little bit different flavor than Shadley. He's hits the deck a little harder, gets a little bit more bounce, more of a bowling all-rounder.
Right.
And then they got 2 of the best youngsters in the draft. They go Ali
excited
Sheikh.
About both of these
They
guys.
go outside the under-23 round to get Ali Sheikh, and then they go in the under-23 round and then get Bhaskar Yadram. So we were talking maybe these are the 2 best under-23s in the draft, and they pick up both of them. So this squad, from a domestic point of view and from that overseas point of view, looks very strong. But we've seen teams look strong and then just not have the combinations work.
Right.
And so that's where we kind of jump in to the 11. So I had the luxury or the honor of making this 11 here for the LA Knight Riders. And for the LA Knight Riders, my 11 goes as follows. I had Jason Roy and Unmuk John opening the batting. I thought that was really a no-brainer for me.
Nice one.
Get those 2 right-handers out there. Jason Roy, of course, leaving his ECB contract to come here. You're not going to not let him open the batting. He's so destructive up there. I went with Nitish Kumar at 3, and I think an argument could be made to move him down the order. I think you can also talk about Asif Badar at 3 as well, but I go with Nitish Kumar just because of the draft, where they drafted him. I think that plays a factor into this as well. Also just phenomenal with the bat in hand. Then Martin Guptill at 4. That feels kind of like locked down for me. Such a good striker of the ball, can kind of carry an innings. Then you have the firepower. You have Dre Russ coming in here. I went with Dre Russ there at the 5 position. I go Jaskar Malhotra, who's going to keep wicket. And I can see the argument to maybe move him down under Sunil Narayan just to give him the kind of big hitting role that he has grown accustomed to in the international circuit. But Sunil Narayan comes in, and he's going to give you he's going to give you his full quota with the spin. Not sure if Jay Russ is going to bowl, and that's why I've gone with Shadley Van Skalkwijk sitting there at number 8. And it's because that option of, well, do you need that third pacer? And I do think he's going to be the guy to bowl a lot. I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot of Andre Russell, running in and bowling. Go with Lockie Ferguson. He's going to hit 150. You already said it.
Yeah.
If you're bowling 150, you're bowling in this competition. Then moving to Adam Zampa, got to get another spinner involved. And Ali Khan, again, quick, one of the biggest names, and if you get a chance to put a pace bowler as a domestic, I think you got to take it. I almost consider putting in a guy like maybe Ali Sheikh at number 8 just because it gives you another flavor of spin, but the fact that Jay Russ, I'm just not sure if he's going to bowl. That's why I go with Shadley, and like we said, Saif Badar sitting, Bhaskar Yadram, Ali Sheikh, Cornet Dry, and they also picked up Gajanan Singh, so this is a team that if you want to add another left-handed bat, they got 2 in the mix right now in my 11. You can, of course, throw that in.
Yeah, I really like this team. Obviously, I just mentioned that every team kind of is lacking something, but this team gives you a lot. I like the inclusion of Shadley at number 8 because I think after him you're kind of a little bit stranded. Lockie can knock it around for sure. But after that, your 9-10s your 10 and 11 or 11s. So I like Shadley at 8 because if you have a struggle, you can pinch him up a little bit, and we know he can play. He can stick around a while, and we also know he can go when he needs to. To me, what the Washington's domestic strength, one of their Washington's domestic strengths was the number 3. How they had 3 options. They had Shujish Gowda, Saad Ali, and
Mukhtar Ahmed.
Mukhtar Ahmed. Thank you. So this team's version of that is that they got Shadley, Bhaskar, and Cornet Dry, who could all play in that position, and you're going to get good value. Each of them's going to give you something slightly different. Bhaskar is pretty much a straight up all rounder, maybe even a batting all rounder. At this particular level, but Cornet, Shadley's a pretty even all rounder at this level. I think more of a bowler, but Cornet's more of a bowler who can hit, who can clean hit a little bit. So, but I think with this team after that 8 spot, that's why I think you got to put a balanced player like Shadley in there. But I would switch. There's a couple of changes I would make to yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would probably put Narine at number 6.
Yep.
And I might even put him at number 3. And I might even put Narine at number 3 and move Nitesh back, or you have the option to play someone. If you do that, you have the option to play someone else for Nitesh.
Sure,
if you
play
want
Bhaskar Yadram, who maybe is a little bit more accustomed to coming.
Right, it's Bhaskar Yadram gives you one more hitter at the end.
Sure, absolutely.
But this team has so many big hitters.
Yes,
they have so many big hitters and big scorers that that Shadley spot I think is important, because once you get to there, you're going to need someone to hold up the dam. But I might put Narine at 3, just so he's batting in the power play.
Yeah, absolutely. Again,
we know he can do it.
Gives you that lefty up there as well.
Gives you that lefty right.
He's done it before. He's batted up top the order. I think there's plenty of options here, and honestly, I kind of like that in an 11 where you have fluidity, where you know, okay, well, I can swap this guy in this role.
Sure.
There's not a lot of guys here where you say, oh, well, they have to play here.
Sure.
Like Martin Guptill's great at 4, but if you move him to 5, he's still gonna execute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's a Sunil Narayan. He's great at 3, but he can play at 7, 6, 5. He can play at really any position. So I think that's the beauty of this team, that there's so many options that you can do. As we just mentioned, there's not a lot of teams you can do that with. Where you say, hey, you can take your number 7, put him in there number 3, and he can still function.
Yeah, and now that I think about it more, Nitesh Kumar is valuable on this team in the 11, because you got 8 spinning overs locked up with Narine and Zampa.
Yep.
And can you imagine a better duo? It's hard to. But if you want to go more spin, Nitesh can definitely give you that.
Yeah, he can give you that as well. So it gives you another flavor, another option, again, if you want to use it.
One-time captain of Canada.
Sure.
A buddy of ours. I don't know about you, but I've had a few great conversations with the guy. I love him. It's amazing that we got him here in the USA right now. It's a tremendous thing. But yeah, this team looks. It's got some firepower. This team has some firepower. And then Ali Khan and Lockie Ferguson.
I mean, again, that's a dream come true, and the real meat of it. Because, again, you have 2 guys that Ali Khan, he's just a USA legend, and Lockie's going to hit 150. And to see those 2 kind of work together and see how they're 2 different guys, too. I think Ali Khan a little bit more slingy. He's going to be fuller in length. And Lockie's more of the old school, I'm a thumper.
Gracious.
That's kind of what the two are.
He's got puts together some great combos.
Sure.
Like
he feels like a boxer, doesn't he? He's gonna throw you a couple jabs, and then boom, the hook's gonna come in.
Right. He gets you looking for one thing and hit you with the exact opposite.
Sure.
He's just. I can't wait to see. I want to. When they're hitting the net, when they're bowling in the nets, I'm gonna be like glued to that net. I'll be far enough away where I don't get hit. But yeah, and then you got Riley Rousseau on the bench.
Yeah, again,
tremendous.
There's so many options here, and I think that was, I was looking at It's Called Cricket 11 too after I made mine to see how it compared. And the one change that they made, Martin Guptill was out of the 11 and Riley Rousseau was in, and you could definitely see that change being made.
Right. Yeah, you could easily. I just think marketability of Martin Guptill, of Jason Roy. I think these overseas almost write themselves.
Yeah.
I don't really see them budging from this particular list of 6 overseas, but they do have options. If they need another lefty, Rousseau can go in. If they need a left, this is one thing they really, really kind of lack, is a left-arm fast bowler.
Yeah, Spencer Johnson.
Spencer Johnson can come in. And we know, lefties domestically work out so well in the USA. Obviously, in T20 cricket, you'd want to have a little bit of everything. That's the one thing that I think they're missing.
Yeah, no, they don't have that lefty bowler, and so to bring
unless you bring in Spencer, but who do you sit?
Right, and so then you'd have to sit almost a Lockie Ferguson, or do you risk Sunil Narayan, right? So there's a lot of questions.
I don't think you can sit. I think Sunil Narayan's in this team.
It's an interesting conversation to have, and again, we're all speculating because we're so close to Major League Cricket starting. We can't wait to no longer be speculating and see what these 11s look like.
Absolutely.
But moving from Major League Cricket, we'll jump in to some ICC qualifiers because we're just a couple, maybe a day away here from the Scotland-Netherlands final.
Yeah, I think we're 5 hours away.
5 hours away.
Let me double check on that, but yeah.
Well, while he's checking with that, Scotland-Netherlands have been fantastic. They've been absolutely brilliant this entire tournament, but the associate world might be a little bit upset about the talk around the ICC qualifiers right now, because the talk is not, wow, look at the brilliance of these teams. It's, look at the decline of the West Indies, and rightfully so, right? You can understand this team has a storied history. 2 ODI World Cups, 1 T20 World Cup, and this is the first time they've ever missed a tournament, and that's disappointing. But to solely focus on that, I think is a distraction from the real talking points. one, Scotland and Netherlands, brilliant. We've mentioned it, and it's true. But two, this is the problem with a 10-team World Cup.
Yeah.
At least it isn't 8, which it was in 2019, so at least it's not 8.
Mm-hmm.
But 10 has never been and will never be enough. We saw that on any day, any team can beat anybody. Ask the West Indies in this qualifier. Ask what Scotland's done to everybody. Ask what Netherlands has done to everybody.
Right.
On any day, in any format, any team can beat anybody. And especially
as long as they're
ODI,
good teams.
As long as they're good teams.
Yeah.
And these teams have proved to be good. And it's more than likely Scotland or Netherlands won't win the World Cup.
Right.
But these teams can come in, make some noise, catch fire, and just create that little bit of intrigue that's just going to ripple effect for years to come.
100%. And we've seen Scotland, they've been giant killers.
Yeah.
We've seen them beat some very good teams. This should come as no surprise to anybody.
Yeah. And
maybe that contributes to the fact that people are talking more about the decline of the West Indies.
Sure.
That's not fair. It's not fair because we know the West Indies are in a transition period. I'm going to cut them some slack and say most full member teams aren't used to associate scheduling.
Sure.
And when you get into a World Cup qualifier, you're dealing with some pretty brutal schedules. You're dealing with, games on top of each other.
Yeah. Associates play ODIs back to back. That doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen in full member
world.
cricket, but they would need to save money, I guess. But what we were treated to some good broadcasting, which is also rare for associate. To have a good quality broadcast, not to take anything away from the commentators of regular associate cricket. We know that there's some great associate commentators out there, but the overall quality, there's not much money spent on it.
Yep.
And so it's hard to promote a product when you're not getting the best visuals. But now we've got this Cricket World Cup qualifier. I would have liked to see an associate kind of expert on that last Windies game.
And Andrew Leonard would have been fantastic.
Andrew Leonard would have been terrific. He did all the Nepal games. He's done USA games.
I've called Scotland games with him. He's been all around the world.
He knows these players. He knows about these players.
Yep.
Put him in. Obviously, he got cycled into a lot of the games. But this would have been great to end this game with him. We had Badri and Bish on the call at the end. 2 West Indies guys that are very invested in the West Indies, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're looking at their backgrounds. Of course they are. Of course there's nothing wrong with them being involved in the commentary. But I would have loved to see Ian and Andrew Leonard on this last call at the end, because the focus became Ian Bishop's reaction or the commentary's reaction to the fall of the West Indies. And I don't think any commentator wants that to be the focus. So I think it was a little exploitative on the part of the ICC to take this clip of Bishop's initial reactions and to put that out all over the place instead of bring some attention to the fact that we have an associate going to the World Cup.
Absolutely.
Going to a 10-team World Cup.
No one would have ever thought that going into this. Again, everyone talking about the West Indies and Ireland, the West Indies and Sri Lanka, West Indies and Zimbabwe. We're going to be one of the
Zimbabwe.
going to be 2 of the full members. And that's what it's going to be. And it turns out it's going to be Sri Lanka and either Netherlands or Scotland.
Yeah.
And yes, I think the clip of Ian Bishop, you use it. Sure, you because it's a great moment in history, right?
But don't beat it to death.
There you go. Then there's other things to talk about. It felt like this was the only thing we were going to talk about, was the fact that the West Indies have kind of fallen from grace.
Right.
Rather than, they might have fallen a little bit from grace, but Scotland and Netherlands, they're rising to this occasion.
Right.
They've ascended into, the premier world of cricket.
Right. And then you've got the scheduling going on right now. You've got Sri Lanka's automatic. They're in the next round.
Yeah.
Okay. Netherlands and Scotland decides who goes, and somebody has pointed out. William O'Shea has pointed out here in the comments. This is an awesome point. Too bad the Ashes and Scotland Netherlands game are going on at the same time. Why not push that game to Friday?
Sure.
Well, I mean, I guess you wouldn't push it to Friday because the Ashes is still happening.
On Friday.
But I mean, I guess there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And it is too bad. But I would have been nice if they could have scheduled it a little differently. Maybe, I don't know. That would have been hard. Yeah, I'm complaining about a stupid thing. Yeah.
You can't have everything in this world. Again, it would have been nice.
No, William's right though.
Yeah,
it is too bad.
You know, if the Ashes could have been moved an extra day, but you can't move the Ashes another day. So.
I get it, but at least we'll get 4 hours of the game before the Ashes comes on, and then why not put 2 things on at one time? We do that all the time. We cover minor league cricket.
Yeah,
so
there you go. We're used to that kind of lifestyle.
We're American sports fans. We are used to simulcast.
You ever watch March Madness? You ever seen anyone watching March Madness? There's never one game on. We're splitting the screens. Watch NFL Red Zone.
No, it's never.
You're going from this game to that. We need a cricket Red Zone, I think.
Dude, we need a cricket Red Zone.
Highlight.
Perfect.
I think that.
And we need a couple of Americans to do the cricket Red Zone.
I think that'd be fantastic.
Perfect. It'd be perfect. And so we absolutely flip-flopped on that point of view immediately. Like that was an amazing flip-flop. I'm over here like, they needed to change the schedule, and then we're like, simulcast happens all the time.
It happens all the time. Yeah. You know what? We'll do for this. Innovate. Rather than complain, right?
Yeah.
We're about finding solutions here on Big Innings. We work through the problems in the middle.
Right. But and let's talk a little bit about Zimbabwe.
Sure.
They're not advancing, which is a crying shame. Yeah. Well, let's look at the beginning of the tournament. They looked like they couldn't be stopped. I felt like
they were going to. They found a run and they were just going to keep that fire going.
So many good cricketers on that team too. So many amazingly talented cricketers on that team, and the fans came out in droves to support them. That was amazing for me to see, but not surprising. Because of the support for national teams in Africa is really encouraging. It's one of those things where if Africa, if they had these humongous GDPs, then everybody would focus their attention to growing cricket in Africa, in the African nations, but they don't. So they get left out a lot. But nobody plays more international cricket than Africa, as a continent. They play so much, and obviously I'm talking mostly about the associates when I talk about that. But Zimbabwe is almost like an associate. They're almost like the stepchild, the redheaded stepchild of the ICC.
Right.
And they do wear red, so that works. But
Nate, you would be the utmost expert.
I am an expert on redheaded stepchildren, as being one myself. And actually, it's unfair that I use that phrase because I was treated pretty well. But really, Zimbabwe, amazing fans, amazing fan support. This is why the 10-team World Cup is so crap.
Yeah, again, I think when we saw it go to 8 in 2019, you were like, what in the world is happening here? It doesn't feel like a world. It just felt really weird because I love the group stage and you get everyone competing.
Sure.
It's a World Cup, right? It's not an 8-team World Cup. It's not just, okay, well, these are the 8 most profitable countries for cricket in the world. We're going to put those 8 teams in a tournament.
Yeah.
It felt, I remember a couple years ago, or maybe it was a year ago, when they're talking about the Super League for soccer, right? They're going to take all
that was awful.
Right, and that almost felt like what this World Cup, the last World Cup was.
It was
the most profitable countries are going to go and play a World Cup of the most profitable countries, and they're going to collect the revenue for themselves. And that's what it kind of felt like to me back in 2019 when they first did this.
The bottom line is, do you want to grow the game or don't you want to grow the game?
Yeah.
If you want to grow, if you want to do something, if you want to do you want to grow anything, but if you want to achieve a goal, you got to be willing to pay a price.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to do that. And when we double down on this capitalist type of mindset in the international game, it doesn't accomplish that. It doesn't accomplish the growing the game. And I understand it in the franchise side of things. I understand. We expect that in the franchise side of things. But the international side of things is not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be the antithesis. And so when people complain to me about, the sanctity of international cricket boards, for example, like how they should have like this domain over cricket. I'm like, okay, show us that you're doing the right things first, and then I'll support that.
Yeah.
But they're not these cricket boards. They're not like some public institution that's benefiting the public good at all times.
It's a private institution that is for profit.
Right? They're still worried about views, and they're worried about maximizing their views instead of playing the long game, and instead of doing the smart thing today that leads to growth tomorrow, planting the seeds.
Yep.
No, they don't want to plant the seeds. They just want to steal all the food that's already there. It's It's silly. So, yeah, make the World Cup bigger, for God's sake.
Yes.
Who wants to watch a 10-team soccer World Cup? Nobody wants to watch that.
And again, I think it's going to continue to get bigger. I think the inclusion of these two teams, and I think the traction the qualifiers got, I think is going to sway the ICC in moving it. I'm hoping.
You would hope so, but how many times do these guys have to prove themselves?
Right, and I think that would be the frustrating part, right? As an associate cricket fan, it's, man, we're just not given an opportunity to show anybody on any level. So you still have people question, does Scotland have a team? Does Oman have a cricket? Yes, and they're very good, and they can compete on any given day. Yes, on any given day they can get the doors beat out of them, but guess what? On any given day, Australia could get the doors beat out of them by England. So
sure.
You know what I mean? It doesn't.
I don't know about that one.
I mean,
no,
go back to 2019. It happened. 5 straight ODIs. They lost 5 straight.
No,
right. On any given day, any team can be beaten in the world. It's a game of cricket. Any game is a funny thing, right?
Yeah. That's why you play the dang games.
Play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think to rob these teams and these nations of that opportunity because, well, you're not the most profitable country or profitable team. I think that is the most frustrating part of the whole situation.
It's dumb. And then when you distribute international cricket monies according to who made you the most money. This isn't like Major League Baseball or NFL where they take the revenue from the teams and they redistribute the revenue from merchandise and everything. All kinds of things. Not everything, but most things they pull it in and then they redistribute it. Nobody's taking money away from India when they're redistributing the ICC funds. They didn't tax India for that. They didn't go to India and say, give us your money, we're going to redistribute it to everyone else. No. The India's argument for getting 38.5% is, well, more people watch our stuff, we should get it. But if you look at the way the ICC is run itself, the way the IPL, if you look at the way the IPL is run, they share their profits very equitably amongst the teams because they know that's the way to make the league work.
Yeah, what's the saying? You're only as fast as your slowest object, right? If you have a car, you're only as fast as your slowest wheel.
Yeah.
And so you have to pull the entire machine together and
bring it all together.
The IPL understands that.
You don't drive a knife into that slow wheel.
Exactly. The IPL understands that. The NFL understands. All these sporting leagues that are successful understand that.
Right.
But somehow the ICC and the BCCI don't understand
I think they do understand it. I think they do understand it. I think they want the power more than anything else. The BCCI and the ICC, I think they're happy with the status quo. Status quo is working. It's working very well for BCCI. And honestly, BCCI in cricket in India is ahead of everybody else in a lot of ways. And I'm not trying to take anything away from them.
The IPL is fantastic. India has done a lot for, they've been great for cricket, right? Their production is great.
Right.
The teams have been great.
Yeah.
There have been some great games with India involved. The IPL pulls massive views. That's not the point.
And they did the smartest thing that every other cricket nation had the chance to do. They made sure that all of their best players, all their best international players could play in their domestic league, in their domestic franchise T20 league, the IPL. You get all of that is smart of them to do that.
Yes.
I don't think that's I think that's a good thing. But you've also made it so, because of your collusion with the ICC, you've made it so that you've frozen the international calendar so that you can get all the rest of the best. You've argued that that's the better thing for cricket, to freeze the calendar for 2 months, for more than 2 months. And, to freeze the calendar for more than 2 months, and now you're telling these teams that because they don't make more money for the ICC than India, they don't get a better share. But now they have 10 months of the year to do that.
Right.
They have 10 months to make traction, whereas you could argue the BCCI has 12 because they're profiting from the IPL success. So it's a bad distribution model of the
distribution
ICC's
model
funds.
is not the way. It's not in the benefit of growing the game. It's in the benefit of what we have now is good. We'll just keep that working.
Sure.
And if that's what's going to make everybody happy, if that's what you're comfortable with, you do that.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to grow the game, if you're trying to say we're going to get to a point where we have 32 teams that can win a World Cup, this is,
or they can look good in a World Cup, or they can get fans watching the game.
This is not the distribution model. This is not the distributor.
Imagine Nepal makes a World Cup. Imagine
the fans of Nepal are
unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
They're great fans.
They're unbelievable fans.
Yeah, they're very loyal fans.
Yes, absolutely. and they're fantastic and they're everywhere. But Very intriguing stuff, and we could talk about this for the next 4 or 5 hours, Nate, because we have done
I was kind of counting on that, honestly. I was kind of counting
Well,
on
if
that.
you want 4 or 5 hours, you just go over to CrickFan
Hit me up in the DM.
Yeah, and he'll send you a call, you answer it, and 4 or 5 hours.
You're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret it.
That's what we'll be doing in the parking lot after this. But thank you so much for joining us here on Big Innings. We appreciate the time that you guys take out of your day to come and join us here. Thank you for contributing to the chat and everything else. And make sure you like, subscribe, comment, follow us on Instagram. We post every other day, basically every day, pretty much. We're posting content, and you get constant updates about cricket going on all over the world. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. For myself, for Nate Hayes, for Babar Beg, who's made this whole production possible. Dane, we'll get you back here at some point. Thank you so much for joining us on another Big Innings.